Welcome to the Riedell Report, brought to you by College Baseball Central, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt. Now, here's your host.
Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. We've made it back all the way. We're all in now with college baseball in full swing. We have games going on right now in Hawaii and Baton Rouge and in Texas still at Globe Life Field. Welcome back to the Riedell Report. This is our third episode here, and it was a fun weekend, if you ask me, until last night. I'm driving home. I just finished FAU Notre Dame. I went to see Notre Dame kick some butt, and my truck breaks down. So if you're gonna ask me how my week is, that's how it's going. My truck broke down. I couldn't go to work today, but college baseball makes my heart happy. If you saw my Twitter, you saw I was watching Houston and Washington play this afternoon. More of an attempting to play, as it was one of the more sloppier games I've watched in recent history. And I watched the team I coach win a game 29-0 last week. That's not something to brag about because we lost the next day. But it was a very boring baseball game, but we're gonna have some snoozers. We're gonna have some very electrifying games, and we had some electrifying games this past weekend. If you guys weren't following College Baseball Central, what are you doing? We were everywhere this week. We had very great representation everywhere. We had people, me and Boca, three of our main guys, Jake, Noah, and Matt, all in Arlington, Texas, covering the Shriners Classic with Oklahoma, TCU, Arkansas, some very big names over there. And then you had some others covering the SEC, covering the American, East Carolina. We're all over the place. We're going to be everywhere. We're going to be getting more and more all over the place as the season grows. But let's jump into it with our first series. It's a very simple show from Monday. With college baseball just coming back still, as I'm also watching the LSU game on my other screen. They just took a 6-3 lead as big man Zach York just scored from second on a little squibbler up the middle. But we're just going to go over the mid-major series of the week from the ones we talked about last Thursday. We're also going to be going over five teams that I viewed as winners of this week. They impressed me the most. We're going to be going over some player, pitcher of the week, and even the team of the week that I'm very excited to talk about. But let's just jump into it with our first one being Kent State and Southeastern. Kent State is going to most likely drop to 3-1, but their trip to Louisiana was not a failure at all. If you recall, I massively failed in guessing this one I had Southeastern sweeping Kent State. I thought Southeastern's starting pitching was going to be much better, but no, Kent State proved why they are the favorites to win the MAC this year. Going into Hammond America and scoring 33 runs and just dominating as that's off the wall for LSU. Sorry. Southeastern starting pitching that I was very high on last week. They go 11 innings, 13 earned runs, 4 home runs, and it was not a fun showing in Hammond America for the Southeastern Lions last week. But if you're Kent State, if you were Kent State, you had the MAC Player of the Week, Sawyer Salatara, who hit 571 with 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, having 6 runs of his own. He and this Kent State lineup really chipped away at the Southeastern pitching. Ripken Reese had 2 home runs of his own. Grady Mee had a home run as well. But I thought the main talking point was the pitching staff for Kent State. I was hyping up Southeastern's pitching staff last week, and no, it was Kent State's pitching staff that came in and really shocked me. Karen Coffey, the Friday night starter, going 5 innings, 3 hits, 0 runs, 8 Ks. Easton Toomas, the Texas transfer, coming into Kent State and setting the tone on Saturday, going 5 strong innings. And it's a very strong Kent State team. They are most likely going to drop to 3-1. They're down 7-3 to LSU right now. Going into the box is a very tough place to win, but it doesn't get easier for them. They go to Lindsey Nelson this weekend to play Tennessee and a very hungry Volunteer team. So that's going to be a series to watch, in my opinion, obviously, because Tennessee still in this new identity with Josh Elander as their head coach. But do not sleep on these Kent State Golden Flashes. They were very fun to watch. Southeastern, it doesn't get easier for them either. They host Southern Miss, which is usually a good midweek game. It's a very good midweek game. Hattiesburg, it's a 2-hour drive for this team. So Southern Miss is going to come in, play a midweek against Southeastern tomorrow. We're going to talk about Southern Miss in a minute or two, but it's going to get a little bit harder before it gets easier for Southeastern. Their pitching did not impress me at all. I was very high on them. Their lineup didn't impress me either. It felt like Kent State got some free passes here, but I can't say much with Kent State. Just kind of going belt to booty in Hammond, America. Second up, we're going to stay in the state of Louisiana. We're heading over about 3 hours west. Never eat soggy waffles. Yep, west. Over to Lafayette to another series. I was wrong. You're going to see a common theme here with me guessing these series. I was way off this week. With Missouri State taking 2 out of 3 from Louisiana Lafayette, including Game 2, them winning 13-12 and having their largest comeback since 2019. And this Missouri State team, I'm high on them, but I thought going to Louisiana would have been a tall task. But it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that Caden Bogenpole and Max Knight came out hungry after last year's failure of a season with Coach Hawkins at the helm. He comes in and they take 2 out of 3. Game 3 was very winnable for them yesterday, but it got out of hand late. As the main story, in my opinion, was the pitching for Missouri State. In Game 1, Michael Yusupchuk, he goes 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 4 Ks. He set the tone for the weekend, and I think that's why this Missouri State team had no bend, no break mentality. Max Knight, and he's a two-way player for the Bears. Game 2, he had a home run. He played Shohei. He had a home run, and he came in out of the bullpen, 3 innings, 4 Ks in relief, and he was a reason why Missouri State was still in that game. Charlie Carter, he hit 429 this week. He had 3 for 7 with a home run, 3 RBIs. Take Gollert as well. He had 2 doubles for 6 RBIs for the Bears. I am going to highlight my breakout player for UL, Rigoberto Hernandez. He did hit 364 this weekend, 4 for 11 with a home run, 2 RBIs. And I'm going to highlight one other guy for the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, who will be their midweek starter, Sawyer Pruitt. Watching his debut out of the bullpen yesterday, it was very promising for Louisiana fans. With some uncertainty with this pitching staff, I would kind of see Sawyer maybe getting built up to maybe take over in the weekend rotation. So I'm very excited to be watching that game against Rice tomorrow. As you see, what is next for these next 2 teams? Missouri State is going over to Oral Roberts, and it doesn't get easier for them either. They go to Oxford, Mississippi in the freezing cold. The ice over there still hasn't melted from what I heard. They go over to Ole Miss for a very fun 3-game series. For Louisiana, again, doesn't get any easier. They welcome a Power 4 conference member in Maryland this upcoming weekend. Right before, don't look ahead to that, they have Rice. Rice just took 2 out of 3 from Power 4 Big Ten opponent Northwestern. David Pierce has them trending in the right direction, it looks like. After this weekend, I don't want to be projecting 5 years in the future, but David Pierce and those Rice Owls did look very, very good. San Diego and Charlotte is going to be the next series we talk about. San Diego, again, it's a common theme here with the Riedell Report. Andrew Riedell struggled to choose picks. It seemed like everyone struggled with choosing series this week, which is very shocking. But San Diego and Charlotte, they moved this series a 2-dayer. They had a doubleheader on Saturday with Charlotte and San Diego splitting that doubleheader, but San Diego still takes 2 out of 3 from the Charlotte 49ers, as it was a very out of characteristic weekend for the Charlotte 49 pitching staff. I know what you're thinking, Andrew, it's week 1. There's really no characteristics for any teams. You look at their head coach, you look at the development and the area of Charlotte where Tread is. Charlotte's pitching staff's going to be very good. After this weekend, I'm kind of scratching my head. It's like, Andrew Cribbs didn't make it out of the first inning. Drew Munn looked very good, but the bullpen didn't. Eddie Cooper looked good as an opener for Game 3, but could we maybe see him get stretched out for maybe 4 to 5 innings this upcoming week? I still think there's a little bit more question marks with Coach Woodward's pitching staff. San Diego, on the other hand, I thought they looked very good. Drew Gutierrez set the tone for San Diego on Friday to get that 7-4 win. Jagger Edwards did not have a good weekend. He only threw an inning but gave up 3 runs. Kyle Bade started that Sunday game. He went 4 or not that Sunday game, that Game 3. He went 4 innings, allowing 2 hits, 4 Ks. So if I'm a San Diego fan, I'm very excited for this team. Even without Isaiah Lane, this offense still found a way to have a very successful weekend, scoring 21 runs. That Game 2, you can forget about if you're Coach Brock Ungrich, because you look at Adrian Beltre's son, AJ Beltre. There's more and more Beltre still playing baseball at every level. He hit a whopping 636, going 7 for 11 with 4 RBIs this past weekend. Aiden Howard, he was a big reason why they won Game 3. He went 6 for 13. He had 2 triples in that Game 3 victory with 3 RBIs. Just mentioned it with Kyle Bade, 4 innings, 2 hits, no earned, and 4 Ks for the Toreros. But I do want to highlight some Charlotte highlights. Cody Gunderson and Cale Strickland did have very successful weekends. Cale Strickland, the transfer from Auburn, catching for the 49ers. He had a very successful weekend, hitting .455, going 5 for 11, 2 doubles, 5 RBIs. Cody Gunderson, who, in my opinion, is going to be in the talks for the American Conference Player of the Year. He went 6 for 9, nice, hitting .667 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. I think his bat, you need to see Dawson Bryce bat wake up, obviously, but having Gunderson, Strickland, Jimenez, some other pieces still in there for the 49ers, I'm not overly concerned. Again, that's going to be the common theme of the show as well. It doesn't get easier. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. For both these squads, San Diego, they go back to California. They have a midweek with Long Beach State, and then they're playing in the Tony Gwynn Legacy Tournament. That is with Utah, Creighton, San Diego State, and I'm pretty sure one other team I can't think of right now. But that's going to be a very fun weekend. But Charlotte, they play in-state, not really a rival, but they play in-state opponent Clemson for the midweek, who had a very good weekend this past weekend. And then they play a Horizon League champion, Wright State. Wright State made some noise last year in regionals. So I would not be surprised to see Wright State take another series from a very good team. I'll probably be previewing that series in the weekend, leading up to the weekend on Thursday on this show. Next up is another one I got wrong. East Carolina and Xavier. Xavier, I mentioned it on the show last week. I saw Billy O'Connor play, or not play. I see how he coaches his team. I see how he schedules his schedule. He is not afraid to play the top of the top. You got to play the best to be the best. Xavier would be a 1 seed today if you go into pair ratings and click on the tournament simulator. They would be a 1 seed today due to them going into ECU and taking 2 out of 3. Xavier takes 2 out of 3. They win game 1, 4-3, win game 2, 9-3, and then East Carolina wins game 3, 12-5. Game 1, Xavier escapes a bases loaded jam, getting a strikeout, looking in a 3-2 count, as Q Millie said it on Friday, and I'm going to repeat it. You cannot go down at home looking 3-2 with the bases loaded. That's every kid's dream. Bottom of the 9th, full count, bases loaded, bats in your hand. You do not go down looking. So that's it's unacceptable, but Xavier's a very good team. They're going to be fighting for the Big East championship with another Big East team we'll talk about here in a minute. But Xavier looked very good pitching wise. They looked very good pitching wise. Offensively, they struggled a little. Don't be looking at that 9 number and like, oh, wow, no, their offense was very good. No, it was a little bit of streaks here and there. The top of the lineup did a lot of damage. The bottom of the lineup didn't really do that much, it felt like. Peter Johnson hit 429 with a home run, a double, and 3 RBIs. Josh Stonehouse hit 500 with a home run, 2 RBIs. Their Friday and Saturday starters, Ryan Peake and Jack Nobe, they go combined 8 1/3, 1 earned, and 4 Ks. Magic number 4 right there. You don't need to strike out 10, 12, 11, 6, 7, whatever you want to say. You don't need to strike out all that many people to make or to win these big games, especially on Friday night. We saw it a lot this weekend. We saw the Lamar starting pitcher, Oliver. He goes out, strikes out 14 over 6 innings. That's always great, but pitching contact is key. You don't want to be doing all this stuff to be getting in deep counts and having to throw your fastball in a 2-2 count because next thing you know, that ball's getting hit into the jungle. Xavier and their pitching staff did a phenomenal job this weekend. Highlighting for ECU, Jack Herring, a very good lefty for ECU. He went 5 for 13. He was probably the best bat for ECU this week. Braden Burris did hit 422 this past weekend with a bunch of singles. But Jack Herring, he had a home run, 2 doubles, and 3 RBIs. Gavin Van Kempen started game 2. He went 4 innings, 1 hit, 0 earned, 4 Ks for the ECU Pirates. And it felt like that's all she wrote for this series. It was just a very, very dominating pitching by Xavier. They did a very good job of drowning ECU out and just making them come from behind and just struggle. They struggled with runners in scoring position. They struggled against very good pitching. And I'm very excited to see what the Xavier team does this week as they have a very hard week. They go to Louisville tomorrow, which if you ask me, I am a gambling man. I would not be surprised if Xavier goes into Louisville tomorrow and upsets the Louisville Cardinals. Louisville obviously dropped 2 out of 3 to Michigan State this weekend. I would not be surprised if Xavier struggled, or not Xavier struggled, if Louisville struggled, and Xavier takes advantage of that. They have some very good bullpen arms that we can see tomorrow. I wouldn't be shocked if Billy O'Connor doesn't name a true starter if they just go 1-1-1 Johnny Holstaff style, and I wouldn't be surprised if Xavier wins a very low-scoring game, but Louisville's bats can wake up at any given moment, and then they head off to Arkansas, a top 10 team in the nation, who's coming off a 2-1 weekend in Texas in the Shriners Classic. That'll be a very fun one as well, but I think it's going to be a very hard weekend for the Xavier Musketeers. We're actually going to talk about Xavier here in a minute again. ECU, they have midweeks against Campbell and Northern Illinois before hosting hosting, going away and playing a neutral site game against UNC. That should be a very fun series, but I have a lot of questions about that ECU lineup. Pitching, Ethan Norby, he didn't look his best game one. The Xavier lineup did put early pressure on him, causing him to leave the game early. So not being able to have Ethan Norby late, but Ethan Norby could be a coin flip. We can see true ace, best pitcher in the country, Ethan Norby, this week against Jason DeCaro. That'll be a must-watch Friday night game as well. Next up, speaking of must-watch, if you didn't watch the UCSB and Southern Miss series, what were you doing? Were you having a life? I don't know. This was probably the series of the weekend, almost at every level. Outside of the Shriners Classic, I can't really think of another series. Please comment if you can think of another series. Another series that was as exciting as this one, UCSB and Southern Miss. I nailed this one right on the head, saying that UCSB would take Friday night and Southern Miss would retaliate, taking Saturday and Sunday. A gentleman's sweep, if you say. Jackson Flora was lights out for UCSB this Friday night. He is going to be a top 5 MLB draft pick in the summer, and he showed why, just causing absolute recklessness on the Southern Miss mound on Friday, keeping them on balance, not being able to get a lot of hard hit balls. Even in his 5th, 6th innings, when he was getting to the end of his outing, he didn't seem tired at all. He seemed like he was just getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and he gives UCSB a win on Friday night. But that is before Joey Urban and Matthew Russo could say anything. They come in and save the day Saturday and Sunday. Joey Urban was absolutely electric this weekend, hitting .455 with a home run on Saturday and 2 RBIs. And then Matthew Russo had the game-winning walk. It was either him or someone else. He had the game-winning walk for Game 3, which is actually a very disappointing end to such a fun series. Southern Miss really impressed me this weekend. Especially, this had a regional type feel. I saw a lot of people saying that this weekend. This had a regional type feel, which it is. These are two teams that will most likely be in regionals when it's all said and done. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a super regional preview as well. It was phenomenal environment at the Pete, very high intensity games already for the first weekend of the season. So seeing these teams go toe to toe was very electric. Cade Goldstein, I skipped over him, but he had a phenomenal weekend for UCSB, hitting 500. That's supposed to say 6 for 12, but 6 for 12 with a home run, 3 RBIs. UCSB's pitching staff and bullpen, they impressed me this week, but Southern Miss was just able to keep coming back. In game 3, that was a whole back and forth. That's what an Omaha-esque game feels like. That is what two really good teams go toe-to-toe, and it was just really fun to watch that whole weekend. So these two teams do UCSB. It does get a little bit easier. They get Pepperdine for a midweek and then Portland for their weekend. Southern Miss, it doesn't get easy. They go to Hammond America for Southeastern Louisiana, and then they go to the Round Rock Classic, which includes, if I am thinking correctly, Oregon State, someone else. I don't want to say Oregon State, FSU, and Michigan, but I can double check that later. But yes, I think these two teams are going to be very good this year. I think Southern Miss is just going to build off of the success and go on a nice little run here. They're going to make some noise in Round Rock once I find out who their competition is. I know they have Oregon State on Saturday. My monitor here actually just died on me, if that's just a big metaphor for my whole day right now. That is a huge metaphor for my day today. But we persevere as we move on to our next series. Mark Kingston gets his first series win for the Creighton Blue Jays as they take 2 out of 3 from St. Mary's, as I nailed this one on the head as well. I thought Creighton looked very good. I think this is a very, very good weekend for Creighton Blue Jays. They have no midweek, but they stay in Louisiana. They stay in California for the Tony Gwynn tournament as well. We just talked about that. But Creighton, a lot of goodness for Creighton. Evan Stratton was very good out of the bullpen. The pitching staff was very strong for Creighton. I was very high on them this past week going into this weekend. So it's very good to see the Creighton pitching staff build off of last year and keep the momentum going. Creighton is the favorite to win the Big East, in my opinion, but it's such a tight race to the Big East because Creighton's very good, Xavier's very good, UConn's going to be very good. Don't overlook that 0-3 weekend in Arizona for UConn. They're one of those teams that start off slow because they have to go south and go west to play these tough opponents because they can't go play at home. But once that conference schedule gets going, once those non-conference games get going, I have full confidence in UConn to make some noise this year. Creighton, same with them. They have to go out west to play, even though they're in Omaha. They have to go out west to play some opponents. They go out, they take 2 out of 3 from a very talented St. Mary's team that is going to be in the top of the conversation for the WCC this year. Jacob Johnson for St. Mary's, he had 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a double. I was very impressed with some of these St. Mary's hitters as well. So just because they dropped 2 out of 3 and they only scored 18 runs this weekend, I thought they were very much in every game outside of that game 1. And I thought this was really a coin flip. That's why I had this series. I thought it was a very good series till the very end. And then finally, we have this. I'm pretty sure this game is still going on. I'm going to check my phone, actually, and see if it is. Hawaii they were up 2-0 last time I checked. They are up 2-1 in it looks like the bottom of the 7th, as Liam O'Brien did get the start for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. We talked about him last week's show, the former Gonzaga Bulldog getting the start against his former team. He went 5 phenomenal innings for Hawaii today, and I think he's going to be a very big part of this Hawaii rotation going forward. And it's very fun to watch late night baseball. I know Delta Dimes was making fun of me for not making it through an LSU regional game. But watching this Hawaii team for the last 3 years, I think opening night, they've gone to extra innings. Ole Miss, they went to extra innings. Wichita State, I'm pretty sure they went to extra innings. And then game 1, they go to extra innings. Gonzaga fails on bunt coverage to allow Hawaii to win. Game 2, Hawaii takes care of business, 5-3. And then game 3, Gonzaga uses 5 runs in the top of the 12th inning or top of the 10th inning to secure their first win of the season. Some highlights in the series so far, as I'll probably harp it on Twitter once that final is solidified. Isaiah Magdaleno, the Friday night starter for the Rainbow Warriors, 6 innings, 3 hits, 106 Ks. He set the tone for the Rainbow Warriors and was very dominant on the mound, being able to throw strikes. We talked about it on Friday with Hawaii's pitching staff. They have one of the best pitching coaches in the country. They've been becoming a better and better pitching staff every year, and they're going to be one of the best pitching staff statistically in the country this year. Jack Redding, their catcher for Hawaii, he hit .417 this weekend. Outside of today, obviously, he could have went over 3 and just burnt his batting average. I hope not. He was DHing today, but he went 5 for 12, 3 RBIs, 3 doubles. Noah Meffert for Gonzaga, 429, 6 for 14, 2 doubles and an RBI. And then Landon Hood, the big talk for Gonzaga, going 6 1/3 last night, 2 hits, 8 Ks out of the bullpen, keeping Gonzaga in the game. Those long bullpen outings in the 4-game series out in Hawaii. That is huge for them. Being able to save pitching, especially in a barn burner today where the score is 2-1. Next up for Gonzaga, they go straight. I'm going to assume they go straight from Hawaii tomorrow. They'll leave tomorrow from Hawaii to probably Texas State. I wouldn't assume they're going back to Washington at all, but Gonzaga heads over to Texas State as Hawaii only gets today or tomorrow and Wednesday off before taking on Wichita State for another 4-game series. Brian Green and co. will be coming in again to play the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors after last year they opened up the season with them. So that is it for our series recap. Next up, we're going to be bringing in some other mid-majors, some other teams to talk about. The 5 teams that impressed me the most this weekend. Obviously, some of these teams were like, Andrew, yeah, of course these impressed me. Oklahoma, they should impress me. They're an SEC school. They're they're not top baseball school, but they're in the SEC. They should be impressing me. The way they impressed me was they did everything right. Obviously, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, they're going to have long seasons this year. TCU, though, TCU is most likely going to be in Omaha, in my opinion. TCU is one of the better teams. Not if they're a top 5 team in college baseball right now, in my opinion. TCU is. But Oklahoma being able to take care of Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and TCU with huge question marks coming in with the pitching staff. You lose Cade Crossland. You lose the Witherspoon brothers. You lose your closer. Okay? Here's Cam Johnson, who we've been trying to develop. Cam Johnson's this huge freshman at LSU. He's going to be an LSU Tiger for 3 years, right? Nope. He is in his junior year at Oklahoma now, and it looks like it's clicked for him. His father was rightfully taking victory laps on Twitter, saying how much Skip Johnson has helped Cam develop. And this weekend, it looked like a whole new Cam Johnson. This is like the Cam Johnson we were expected to see his freshman year at LSU. Cam, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, and it was an unearned run. 3 walks, 11 Ks. How can someone one-up that? His teammate, LJ Mercuris, the UNLV transfer. His brother actually piggybacked off of Cam Johnson in the Texas Tech game. LJ went 5 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned, striking out 12. Big. There's huge question marks with these two. Huge question marks with LJ. Oh, he's only a 1-pitch guy. His success at UNLV was limited. How is he going to translate that to Oklahoma with his brother being there? Cam Johnson, not even the maturity, but his body maturity. This is a freak of nature that going back to his freshman year, it's like, okay, this kid's going to be LSU's closer. This kid's going to be a freak of nature. He's got the body, the mentality is almost there, and then it just clicked. And then Sunday night, you send a true freshman to the mound against a team that just took wins against Vanderbilt and Arkansas. And Cord Rager goes 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned, 8 Ks, and a 7-inning run rule victory over TCU. That is one way to make your presence known for this weekend. We already talked about Kent State a little. I just wanted to harp on it a little bit more. I don't care what the final score of this LSU game is. I really think Kent State is going to make some noise this year, even with their non-conference opponents, but mostly in the MAC. I think they'll be the favorite to win the MAC this year, but they were just phenomenal going into Hammond. Especially, I think they shocked me the most and they impressed me the most because of how high I am on the Southland this year with UT Rio Grande. UT Rio Grande, Southeastern, Lamar, McNeese, some other schools in that pack. I'm very impressed with the way they handled themselves. And even tonight, going in LSU, being able to scrap some runs, get the offense going against a very good arm in Jaden Newt and some other arms against they're the best team in college baseball, LSU. Being able to get the offense going, Pitching, I mean, there's obviously a big pitching difference in the MAC compared to the premier of college baseball in the SEC. But I was very impressed with Kent State. Over to Wichita State. I'll talk about Wichita State a little bit in a minute, especially Jason Jones, who hit 467 this weekend, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs in their series sweep over Northern Colorado. That is not a football score I have in front of you. They did truly outscore them 42-8. I had to double count that twice. Jason Jones, the Oklahoma State transfer, hitting 467, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. Max Hoffer hit 500, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and I could have just listed their whole lineup this weekend and how many RBIs they each could have driven in. But this is the Wichita State team that brings in essentially a whole new roster. Out of the 33 guys there, I am pretty sure it's 27 new guys. 27 new guys. I need to double check that number. It's in that range of it's like Colorado-esque when Deion took over in college football. They took over and they brought in a whole new roster. The thing is, Wichita State doesn't bring in a new coach. Coach Brian Green is still the head coach at Wichita State. They just had a very good lineup, and NIL, money talks in this day and age, and a bunch of them transferred. Camden Johnson transferred to Oklahoma. They lost some other very, very good players to the SEC, but they did return one arm in Brady Hamilton, who rounded out this rotation of Johnny Nunez, Reese Cordum, and Brady Hamilton. They go 13 innings, 1 earned run, striking out 15 guys. I know what you're thinking, 15 Ks, Andrew, for 3 guys. It's 5 a guy. It was 5 a guy, actually. But I think this Wichita State team has a lot of potential now, especially setting the tone off. You set the tone high, you're going to get that target on your back, and everyone's going to be gunning for you. Wichita State is known for their gap-to-gap power in recent years. I think that can keep going, especially with guys like Jason Jones and Max Hoffer leading the way. You might not be able to recognize that logo under Wichita State because I use their baseball logo. Michigan State taking 2 out of 3. It was probably the story of the weekend in Louisville, Kentucky. Michigan State taking 2 out of 3. Randy Seymour, 2 home runs, hitting 385 with 5 RBIs. Parker Bacot, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. And then Aiden Donovan setting the tone on Friday. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 3 Ks. We just talked about it. We just talked about it with Xavier, who we're actually going to talk about again, about pitchability, being able to go out there, give your field a chance, know that you have a good fielding team behind you, and just trust your pitches and be able to execute pitches. Louisville, it felt like they made no offensive changes until that game 3, and it just felt like they were lost at the plate against some. Michigan State's going to be good pitching-wise this year as well. They did lose some very talented arms last year to the draft, but Aiden Donovan, my hat off to you, brother. You came in and set the tone. 5 innings, only allowing 3 hits, only 1 earned. And all 3 hits were doubles, actually. So that's funny enough. Following that up is Xavier. Xavier getting that big series win over ECU. We've talked about them enough, I feel like, but we're just going to talk about them some more. Going into the jungle is very hard. I've harped on that last week. But being able to go to tough opponents and showing that, hey, we're not afraid of you. Billy O'Connor's our head coach. Billy O'Connor would want to bite some guy's kneecaps off, I think. He might be the same guy as Dan Campbell. I've never seen them in the same room. So Billy O'Connor and that team is going to be very scary. They're going to give every team a run for their money. They're not going to be a team that gets kicked or not even kicked while they're down. They're not gonna take no for an answer. They're gonna be very, very good this year. Well, we did get through majority of the show with me not having to go to my image file and have to take something out of my file. Next up, we're going to talk about my pitcher, player, and team of the week. We're going to start off with my player of the week. We just talked about them a little. In Wichita State, Jason Jones. Jason went 467, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. So Oklahoma State transfer came in and just pounded the ball all over the ballpark. Northern Colorado was victim to him, and he's a very intriguing guy to watch. You watch those games this weekend, you're thinking, "Oh, Wichita State's back. They're going to be top of the American." Their lineup's always been good. It's their pitching that I've been mostly concerned about, but pitching setting the tone off, it's a very good sign. For my pitcher of the week, I think people are going to disagree with this one, and I'm going to say this. I did this pitcher of the week because of the opponent he faced. I know there are some very good opponents out there. Chris Oliver at Lamar, he went 6 innings, 0 earned, struck out 14. This guy didn't even make it through 5 innings. James Littman from FAU, the West Boca boy himself, he went 4 innings, only allowing 1 run against Notre Dame, who very much impressed me this weekend. Notre Dame impressed me a lot this weekend, but James Littman impressed me more. 4 innings, 9 Ks, 1 earned, 1 allowed. He was the winning pitcher in the game Friday, or he wasn't the winning pitcher. Kaid Aditui was the winning pitcher for FAU, but James set the tone off. He's a very electric pitcher. You watch this FAU pitching staff, it's going to be a fun one to watch. I know that I chose 2 American guys, and it feels like, oh, Andrew, you covered the American. That's a little BS. But no, I think the American's going to be very good. I've talked to so many coaches already in the American. We're going to switch back to that in a minute. I've already talked to so many coaches in the American talking about how deep this conference is going to be. Look at Tulane. Tulane takes 2 out of 3 from Loyola Marymount. They get to go face some disputed as the number 1 team in the country, UCLA. Who did they get to face? They get to face the best freshman in the country, Angel Cervantes. ECU, obviously they struggled week 1, but they're going to be there at the end of the conversation, end of the year. UTSA, they take a big blow with losing Robert Orlowski for a little while, it seems like, but they still have the offensive power, and the pitching will step up in the replacement of Orlowski. Charlotte, they were kicked this weekend, but I expect them to be full force this year. USF, second year with Mitch Hannes. He takes 2 out of 3 from Illinois. Their offense looked explosive this weekend. I can go on and on and on, but I want to get into my team of the week. You might have saw it already if you were paying attention. You got quick eyes. My team of the week, it's a little sentimental one. If you want to put on some emotional music, some slow Taylor Swift, if you want. My team of the week is the LaSalle Explorers in the A10. Their first game in 5 years. How do they do it? They go and set a school record in runs scored in a game, and scoring 48 runs in their weekend with University of Maryland East Shore, sweeping the record there. Their first game in 5 years. Welcome back to D1 Baseball, LaSalle. It is so good to have you back. Cut in 2021 due to funding issues. Obviously, COVID hit them hard, but being able to bring back their head coach, bring in a very talented roster, and be able to set, if you saw the fans after that first pitch, the place exploded. It's not a big stadium. It's a stadium up north. But they probably had a seat in they had a butt in every seat, and they made a very special weekend up there, up north, and they swept UMES, and it was a very, very special weekend up there. 48 runs, a lot of runs scored, and that is it. That is it. Thank you guys for joining us for episode 3 of the Riedell Report. We are fully back in the swing of things. If you do not already follow me on the X machine, my username is Riedell Andrew. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up for you this week. We have college baseball everywhere. We got midweek baseball back tomorrow. We got midweek baseball on Wednesday too. We have a lot of fun series to talk about. We might be talking Wednesday. We might be talking Thursday. Maybe not Wednesday because I will be at Miami and Indiana State. But I also have something very fun planned this weekend for Saturday. Saturday, I am either going to one of three places. I am either going to watch FAU and Iowa, DeLand. I am either going to DeLand to watch Stetson and Virginia, or I'm either going to Fort Myers to watch Northeastern and Minnesota take place. So those are three very, very fun games that I hope to bring some very good coverage to all y'all about. I can't wait for you to watch the Miami Masters in person in 2 weeks. I'm going to watch them in 2 days. In 2 days, I will be there Wednesday. Miami set the tone and went crazy against Lehigh. That Miami offense is going to be very, very scary, my friend. I'm very excited to see what that team has in store for me on Wednesday. But right now, I say good night, goodbye. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Good night. I will see you either Wednesday or Thursday, most likely Thursday. But in the meantime, good night. Have a nice night.